You are now listening to Mixmag on rotation, the world's dance music destination.
So Harrison, I saw that last week Moody Man's classic Mahogany Brown album was actually reissued on vinyl, and I know you're a big fan of his, so please tell me that you scored a copy.
You know I did. I really had to jump on this one. I actually didn't really realize it was coming out until a friend posted on Facebook and said, jump on this real quick, and I had to do that. I think right
Shout
now...
out, friend.
Yeah, thank you, my dude Jules, he posted it. Mahogany Brown is actually Moody Man's second album following Silent Introduction. A lot of people think his debut album is some of his finest work, but I really think Mahogany Brown is my favorite of the two. It's pure deep house, it's danceable beats. The title track is absolutely incredible, and it might be one of my favorite Moody Man tracks. I actually got to catch Moody Man over the weekend do a Prince tribute.
Wow.
He is a Prince fanatic.
Yeah, so I've heard.
He's a fanatic. I mean, he's got a house in Detroit dedicated to Prince. So he's going to bring some really special stuff. He actually got on the mic and was like, if you guys came here to hear Purple Rain, you're not going to hear it. I'm not going to play it. He was playing all unreleased tracks,
wow,
rarities, and he was talking in between each one. It wasn't like a DJ set. He was really educating the crowd. And I'm a sucker for the knowledge that he had to share. I'm always trying to dig deeper about all types of music. And he really took the opportunity to share some knowledge, and it was really, really special.
Well, it's really cool to hear sort of modern day artists reach back and talk about people that inspired them. That's a lot of the time people wonder, like, why is Mixmag posting about,
right,
Prince all the time and all these older acts, but it all kind of comes full circle. So it's cool that he actually spent a whole event dedicating it all the way down to Prince and his love of Prince.
A lot of Purple Color and a lot of Prince and a lot of really awesome tunes that I will probably never get to hear again.
We welcome you to On Rotation, Mixmag's weekly podcast giving you the latest news, tunes, and interviews from the world of dance music. I'm Valerie from LA.
And I'm Harrison here in Brooklyn.
And this is On Rotation.
This week, we're joined by the techno mastermind, Charlotte de Witte. She's a rising techno talent out of Belgium who's been buzzing in the industry as of late, following releases on Tiga's Turbo, Off Recordings, and the freshly minted Merry Go Wild Black, which she has the first release on. She's got a really unique sound, and it's very dark, it's somewhat minimal, but it packs a big punch. It's very hard-hitting. It's for those dark warehouses, those big festival stages at the same time, and she's a really rising talent, and we had a really great chat.
Yeah, and she recently stopped off actually in the Lab New York for a Turbo label takeover, and she played some bits of new music and capped off her set with a euphoric trance tune, which is pretty unlike her. So without further ado...
You are now listening to Mixmag on rotation, hot takes on the latest dance music news, tunes, parties, and more.
We're hopping right into it. Hello, Charlotte de Witte?
Yes. Well, yeah, nice pronunciation. It's quite hard for anyone but Belgians to pronounce it correctly.
Everybody in the office has been giving me shit about it.
It's Charlotte de Witte, actually.
De Witte.
De Witte, yeah, but
Okay.
It's a very Flemish name, so
Yeah.
people from England or English speakers usually say the Wit.
Right.
Well, it doesn't really matter, I guess.
Ghent?
Originally, yes, but now I live in Brussels.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How do you like Brussels?
It's nice. It's also very convenient to go to the airport, to go to the train station, to go to the radio station. But to be honest, I do prefer Ghent. It's my
Really?
hometown. It's very small. It's very cozy. It's
Homey.
yeah.
Yeah. What about this scene? What about the dance music scene?
It's pretty nice actually, because about 1 year ago, a new club opened. It's called Compass, and it's a proper big warehouse, and they just turned massive sound system into it, and it was just the perfect venue for techno music.
But you grew up in Ghent.
Yes.
Did you get into dance music there, or?
Yeah, pretty much, because when I was 16 or 17 years old, I switched schools from a community school where I used to go
Right.
a bit outside of Ghent to the city of Ghent, and that's where I discovered electronic dance music. And at the time it was electro music, and
Right.
then throughout the years that kind of evolved
Well, the
into techno
history
music.
there's a lot of history in Belgium in the dance music scene. So
Yeah.
you must have been exposed to it pretty early on, I assume, yeah?
Yeah, although I did miss out on the great years. That was back in the 80s with the
Right.
new beat, the rave style. I did miss that. But yeah, it's still Belgium is a great country for electronic music, definitely.
Yeah. So where have you been recently? Your career is kind of really picking up a lot right now. I mean,
Yeah.
Must be very busy.
It's going very well, and I'm very happy about it. Yesterday I was in Canada, in Montreal, with Turbo Recordings. But then where have I been? I've had an Asia tour early on this year.
Oh, nice.
Next week I'm going to London, to Athens, to France. I've been playing a lot in France as well. Some gigs in Germany. Mainly still Western Europe, but there are tours coming up in the end of the year throughout the world.
Right.
It's great.
With a lot of the music that you've released and your sets and stuff that I listen to, it's music that's like heads down techno. It's like get lost in this, hypnotized in this. And that's something that probably wouldn't really happen with more poppy type stuff, in my opinion. You can't really just like get lost in it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
and it's actually quite funny that you're saying this because techno music, and especially my music as well, it's often quite stripped. So it's beautiful how you can get lost in music that's so stripped and so pure and so simple. Because when I'm making tracks, sometimes it consists of 14, 15 elements.
Yeah, just a few
which
elements.
Which isn't a lot. Well, if you would be looking at some pop music producers, they're often working with 50, 60, 70 tracks. So it's a funny thing to see how you can lose yourself in nothing.
Well, I think
basically.
that's an interesting thing with your music in particular, because like you said, that there are fewer elements than there would be in other bigger sounds, but you have a really big sound that you deliver, Yeah, well, I do get some help for that, because I make my tracks at home, but I do have a person who mixes my tracks, so he fixes the volumes, he puts some effects on it when needed. Yeah. So I couldn't do the big sound on my own. I'm good in just producing tracks, but I don't have the experience to get them like an audio engineer.
Yeah, exactly. You do really need an audio engineer. And I think even if I would be able to do it my own, it would still be interesting to have a second opinion on your tracks.
Oh, for sure. Your career's taken off pretty heavily right now. The past few years, going from your other alias, Raving George.
Yes.
And kind of coming out in a way, coming out from behind the curtain,
Yeah, well, I started with the name Raving George. I was just 17.
Yeah, early.
I had no idea what I was doing. I never woke up with the idea of, wow, I want to become a DJ. It all happened very naturally. I just started going to clubs, to underground clubs. I fell in love with the music. I started downloading music, buying music, started making mixtapes for myself.
Yeah, then just having fun.
I was just having fun. Yeah. At some point, I decided to put them online. Maybe someone else will like them too. And then it just sort of... It kind of happened.
Yeah. Under Raving George, though.
Under Raving George, yeah.
Raving George, it's fun.
You just go with the flow, and then... 6 years later, I got in touch with my manager, I got in touch with bookers, I got the chance to play on lots of festivals, especially Belgium.
Shit got real.
So, yeah, it got very real. And then I dropped out of school. This was my main occupation. I knew what I wanted to do with my life, which is a very cool thing to know when you're just turning 20, I knew what my purpose was.
A lot of your peers, Adam Bayer, they're going by their own names,
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like the same thing for you. Yeah. It's like, I'm just me. This is me. This is my music.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't want to hide behind a male alter ego anymore, because, I grew up. This is what I want to do now. So it's a logical decision to go for Charlotte de Witte, which is my real name. Yeah.
So can you tell me a little about a lot of your music has a kind of a haunting style to it, and Voices of the Ancient, that one in particular stuck with me.
Yes.
It's very creepy.
It is creepy because the sample comes from a Halloween sample pack, actually. Okay. So I stumbled across it, I downloaded it, and I was scrolling to my folders, and I found this whispering, creepy, hypnotizing vocal. I was like, okay, I want to do something with it. And basically the entire track is just built around that sample, because it doesn't contain a melody. It's just that one and a kick and some hi-hats, and that's it. Yeah. That's just a track. So I immediately fell in love with the vocal. And
why did you choose to go this stripped back route? Melody it's not really a focus in a lot of your stuff.
Yeah, because I do really like stripped stuff. I don't really know why. Yeah. It's also quite hard to produce music like that, because really every single element has to be 100% on top, right. Yeah. I do like melodies, but I never learned how to play the piano or stuff like that, so it doesn't come so naturally to me. So maybe that's why. I don't really know why,
you just want the rawness, the raw rhythm.
Yeah, I do like raw music. Yeah.
And your music kind of suits the labels that you've been picked up recently, Turbo, Off, and Merry Go
Wild.
Wild Black.
Yes.
Which is awesome stuff. How is it working with these labels?
Yeah, very well. They've been very supportive, especially Turbo Recordings, because they've been the first label I released on under my real name as Charlotte Witte. And I had a second EP there, and it got great feedback. Also, the EP on Sleaze Records, Merry Go Wild Black as well. The guy, Alex, he's amazing. He's just, I chat with him every single day. His heart is in the right place, and he would give everything he has for his artists.
I read a little bit about Merry Go Black. It's a club night?
Merry Go Wild is actually, it's a record store in Amsterdam.
It's a record store, okay.
Yeah, and I met those guys during ADE, Amsterdam Dance Event, last year. They throw these basement raves. So they have a basement right next door, and it's a basement. They can fit 100, 150 people.
Nice and intimate.
It's entirely black Function One sound systems, and you get invited as a DJ, and you just play there, and it was massive. It was during the day. It was 3 o'clock at noon, PM.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere was amazing, and we just kept in touch. And then Alex, the guy, he came to me and was like, "So, would you like to have a release on Merry Go Wild?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would love to." And then after hearing the release, he decided to start Merry Go Wild Black.
You have the first release on that label.
Yeah,
it's an honor to do that, to kind of kick off because they have to really trust in you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, and your music definitely suits that underground basement, all black, pitch black.
Yeah. And the basement is amazing. But if you have the chance to go there, it's
I need to get out
amazing.
there.
It's
I mean,
amazing.
so Belgium in general has a really interesting history of dance music. How did that inspire you growing up? Did it at all? I mean, you must have been surrounded by a lot of different styles.
Well, not so much, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I think the most interesting period for Belgium was back in the 80s with the new beats. But I was born in the 90s, so I just skipped the entire period. I just grew up going to normal, shitty commercial parties. But then I think, especially nowadays, it's starting to have an influence because I start digging deeper into the history of music, from techno in general, but also Belgian, dance music. So yeah, it's getting more interesting now than it was back in the days to me.
I think that's an interesting thing in general, is how you maybe start out on something a little more mainstream and you realize there's so much more.
Yeah.
And you dig a little deeper and then you dig into the history. So you kind of owe something to the mainstream.
Yeah, definitely. Because I wouldn't have been here if you have to start somewhere, and you don't start right away in underground. It would be a very unhealthy thing to do, and I don't even think it would be possible to do. So everyone needs to start at some point. And for me, my beginning in DJing was electro music.
Oh yeah.
And then at some point that just kind of died in Belgium.
Very Belgian early on, right? The electro was the sound of coming out of Belgium.
That was back in, what was it, 2008, 2009?
Mm-hmm.
And
boom
then
of EDM, yes.
Yeah, exactly. The beginning of EDM.
Yeah, that was it.
It was the beginning, because a lot of people went into electro house, which turned out into EDM, and then some people went into electro techno, and then just gradually into techno. For me, what I really like about techno music is that to me, when I'm listening to melancholic music, it grabs my attention more. I'm not fascinated by happy music, pop music. It's nice to dance to. You will have a great night. It will have been fun. But the moment you get home, you just go to bed and that's it. And when I'm listening to music that really grabs my attention, I'm lying in bed and I'm reliving the night.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a very important aspect of listening to music, because then you're really thinking about it and it stays in your mind.
And now you're sharing the stage with some pretty big names. Ben Klock, Marcel Detman, Floor Plan. There are legends, you know. And so it's got to be an interesting thing to share a stage with people like that. I mean, you're what, 24, 25?
24, yeah.
24, your career is blossoming at an interesting time.
Yeah.
Do you ever go up on the stage, you talk to these guys, you try to pick their brain a little bit, trying to get some advice maybe?
I'm very bad in networking. I don't want to force anything.
Right.
The more you start playing together with these people, you do realize that they're also just people and they just love music. But the thing is, they have usually what happens a lot is they have a sort of wall built around them, because a lot of people want to approach these guys and it's quite hard to dig through the wall and get to the person and just talk about random stuff. Yeah. The more I play and the more I meet these people, the more
you are their peers,
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like they're all playing your music,
Yeah, well,
right?
Sometimes.
You hope, right? Speaking of your music, you got a really awesome release coming out on Sleaze. Yes. I think that's in June, yes?
Yeah,
you said
in June. Yeah, I'm quite excited. It was actually planned for September, for after summer. And it was going to be a vinyl release as well. But I really wanted to push it and then get it released before summer. So, it will get a right pickup during the festivals.
Festival season's picking up, yeah.
Festival season. So now it's getting released in June. It won't get released on vinyl. So that was kind of the price I had to pay, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very excited.
Do you ever play vinyl?
I do, but not in a club.
Yeah,
I do play it at home. Maybe I should start doing it more because it's a genuine, it's a nice thing to do.
Yeah,
but it doesn't really happen so much because even I organize my own parties in Fuse, the club in Brussels.
Oh, nice!
And I've been doing this for 2 years, and no one plays with vinyl. None of the guys I invited, at least.
It's a risk.
And it's quite a hassle. It's just so easy and it's so secure to do it with USB sticks or SD cards nowadays. And vinyl is still a cool thing to do.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but
it's heavy.
Yeah.
I know my record bag is so heavy.
Yeah,
Too fucking heavy.
But it's so nice to do though.
Yeah.
But I guess the clubs nowadays, the sound system has to be good and the needles have to be good and the vibration has to, it has to be stable and everything. And it's quite a risk, I think, as a DJ to do it.
So now what else is coming up for you this summer? You playing any big festivals?
Yeah, I do. In Belgium, I'm playing at Tomorrowland.
Nice.
I'm playing at Doel, which is a very cool thing. I'm playing at Rockwerchter, which is actually a rock festival. So not a lot of DJs do get in, so I'm quite honored. I'm quite curious what it's going to be like.
How is the crowd going to respond to you there? That's really interesting.
It's very exciting. And besides that, I'm playing quite a lot, mainly Europe.
Yeah, really?
Playing a lot of French festivals. Playing in Hungary. I'm playing Junction 2 in London. Also with Alan Beyer, Ben Klok and Al Fitzpatrick. So yeah, quite an exciting summer coming up. It's amazing, really.
Yeah. Well, good for you. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much.
And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
You are now locked in with Mixmag's own Valerie and Harrison.
Hey, Postmates is delivering free tacos. I just got a notification.
Today?
It's Taco Tuesday.
Is there any catch to that?
I mean, you probably have to buy them, but Okay, what's next?
So yeah, Charlotte, she was great. It was great to have a chat with her. She's really going all around the world, festival stages, all around, playing some really awesome clubs. And it really got me thinking, and it's there's certain things in clubs you really don't want to hear. What do you not want to hear in a club?
Okay, so my personal least favorite is when someone's like, I'm going outside for a cigarette, because I personally have actually never smoked a cigarette and can't stand the smell of them, and also get really sad when I get left on the dance floor all by myself because somebody needs to go smoke one. So that's my pet peeve.
It's interesting you have such a connection with these little white sticks, and they really have a power over you. If you're going out for a cigarette, coming back to the dance for 2 minutes, and then going out back for another cigarette. Nobody wants to spend the night in the smoking section. You want to be in the dance.
That's just not the way to enjoy the set. It's not meant to be heard that way,
You don't want to hear in a club that somebody just let one loose or somebody just drop one. The smells in a club, they come and go, they circulate around the whole club.
But sometimes they don't come and go too. When the ventilation's not very good, that's when it's even worse, I would say.
Right, then you're just dancing in this nasty smell, and people kind of just don't really draw attention to it, They just keep dancing.
It's pretty crazy to watch the wave hit sometimes. There'll be a line of people standing on a wall, and you'll just see one person kind of make a face, and then the rest of them all start making a face as it wafts across. Oh,
terrible.
Man, that's the worst.
Terrible.
The worst. And of course, working at Mixmag, working in music, there's always sort of that chatter about industry talk, and sometimes we go out to the parties to see people that also work in music, but it's pretty much the worst when you're actually at a really good set and somebody starts pitching you a story or asking for your business card. That is just the absolute worst.
Yeah, because we go to the club to kind of escape work in a lot of ways, and when somebody just tries to bring up work in a club, it's just I'm trying to distance myself from that world right now. I'm in this world. I don't want to be in that world right now.
But I hear some exciting things are happening over in New York, Harrison.
Oh, hell yeah. In New York, we got Height coming in to do July 4th weekend. It's got Richie Hawtin. I mean, Height is this Euro event. They have been coming to the States for a few years now, and it's just kind of further evidence that New York is this big hub where all these like European festival type things are trying to take over and spread their kind of vision of what dance music can be. It's going down at the new Governor's Island venue, which is kind of helmed by Eddie Dean, who is of Pasha fame, and he also owns a local club in New York called Shemansky. And he's also bringing in Carl Cox. It's going to be a crazy summer at that space. We're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and it seems to make the most sense, you know, like knowing what I know about Los Angeles's club scene and nightlife scene, it makes the most sense that New York would kind of be the place where a lot of the European events focus on, and it's a little more palatable to the big European events that have been going on for years and years. Like I know Awakenings went there. Mysteryland also is a European festival, so they tend to focus in on New York. So I bet that's going to be a good one.
It's kind of the first stop across the pond, you know? It's like right there. It's pretty easy.
Exactly.
Height hasn't been to LA yet, right?
I don't believe so. Not that I know of.
Oh, they needed to get out there. I'm sure people are like begging for them to come out there. Time Warp too. These types of big events need to further infiltrate the States because we need more of that style of like hard, raw, techno, house.
Yeah, I mean, and with that
stuff.
kind of lineup, like as you mentioned, Richie Houghton's going, Maceo Plex, Marcel Detman, Matrix Man, Julie Gavor, Chris Liebing back-to-back with Speedy J, Loco Dice, Maya Jane Cole, Jackmaster, Peggy Goo.
Favorite.
Stop me. I can't stop. There's too many.
I mean, that's definitely going to be the thing to do July 4th weekend. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, moving on to some sad news, actually, that came up on Mixmag's radar this week. Resco, who's a bass and drum and bass kind of legend act from back in the day, who's still ongoing, he actually announced earlier this week that he had to cancel all of his future gigs due to a recent diagnosis of stomach cancer.
It's brutal. You know, Rusko is definitely a legacy act type of dude. You know, his early work with Caspa and the Dub Police, you know, iconic tracks like License to Thrill, Cockney Thug, Bread Get Bun. These are tracks that still like belong in the club and just absolutely go off. So we really wish him a speedy recovery, but you never know. You know, health is always an interesting thing with touring DJs, you know.
It's crazy to think about. Actually, I think it was around this time last year, he played in the Smirnoff House at EDC Las Vegas with us. And, you know, he had one of the most craziest sets. I think the whole house structure was actually shaking because, of course, imagine like drum and bass plus all those crazy kids in there. And he was, you know, totally fine. So it's really crazy to see that these artists are humans too. They're traveling a lot, which can take a really big toll on your body and your mind. And that's like a topic that we've covered a lot on Mixmag. You know, really shining a light on the sort of less glamorous side of the DJ lifestyle.
Yes, health is important. But now on to another artist that's coming up recently, Miha. You know, we like a lot of stuff she's doing, so she's doing an impact mix for us.
Yes, and it's coming out on Thursday this week on Mixmag.net. So by the time you're listening to this podcast, it should be online, so be sure to check that out. For those who don't know, Miha, her real name is Amber Giles. She's a young producer originally from Phoenix in Arizona who kind of came onto the scene when she was discovered, quote unquote, by Skrillex, who joined her for a super spontaneous back-to-back set at a Bonnaroo a couple years ago. And it pretty much launched her into fame, you know, because that's also, Skrillex was a big curator, and, you know, anyone he kind of gave a nod of approval to, they were like, all right, this is going to be the next big thing. And turns out she really has kind of come into her own career. She's a great DJ. She's really versatile, plays pretty much anything across the board, from like house and techno to drum and bass to happy hardcore, actually, which we talked a lot about in her interview. Turns out she's a diehard happy hardcore fan.
She really plays every genre she can in a set. It's really amazing. I got to see her on Holy Ship, and she did this spontaneous drum and bass set with Gina Turner. Where do you get to see Miha and Gina Turner play B2B drum and bass? It was a very special moment.
She's a really cool talent to keep an eye on, and so give a listen to that mix. We'll give you a listen also in this episode later on. Ba-doop-boop-boo.
This is Mixmag on rotation, direct to your eardrums.
Now on to some of our top premieres. Right now we got Matrix Man, the Berlin-based producer from San Francisco, who's been high on our radar in the past few years. He's stepping up on Henning Bear's freshly minted Man High recordings with his Deep Mind EP that gives further evidence of how he's guiding the next wave of techno. We've been up on him for a while now thanks to standout releases on respected labels like Deck Mantle and Ghostly International, and his album Homesick on the latter imprint is a clear reason why. So here's the title track from his forthcoming release, and just like the name suggests, Deep Mind gets deep right from the jump and progresses into relentless techno that refuses to let go. It's out today, so be sure to scoop it up where quality dance music is found.
Young French producer Deep Mash is making quite the splash for his very first physical release with a 3-track EP called Halcyon, which is out on May 12th on Leisure System. We fought to grab the major collaboration off this EP, which sees Deep Mash team with Benjamin Damage on a track called Solar 909, which is a futuristic swirl of demanding techno and a siren-like melody. Get into it right now. This next one comes from Christoph and Jeremy Olander, both of which are names that have hit that sweet spot of ensuring incredible productions before even hearing it. The Unlikely duo have paired up for a joint EP release debuting on John Digweed's Bedrock with Last Dance, a cinematic track that feels like a perfect finale tune for a memorable night out spent on the dance floor. Christoph is a favorite on Knee Deep in Sound, and Olander is head of his own Vibrant, and they've created something really special here. It's out on Bedrock soon. As Russia's finest exports in underground dance music, Julia Gavor and Trip Masters link up to deliver the Probability EP featuring the tripped out and ethereal techno cut Equals Tree. Not Equals 3, it's Equals Tree. Trip Masters dons his more techno-leaning alias TMZ on this one, complementing Julia's moody and evocative sound profile. It's their debut collaboration and one that arrives on Pan Pot's Second State imprint,
So here's Equals Tree, the more delicate cut of the EP's 3 tracks. But trust, this tune really delivers a beautifully haunting motif, and when that breakbeat rhythm hits, it's pure bliss. It dropped last week, so be sure to grab it and sink into 8 minutes of mesmerizing techno.
You might know her for her bright and ever-changing colored hair, or for her bold fuck genre tour, but it's time to re-meet Miha. She's handed us some never-before-heard original productions in her time in the spotlight on our most recent Impact mix. I took some time to chat with the rising LA-based Phoenix native about touring, fashion, movement Detroit, and yes, brand new tunes, of which she's handed us 3 in this hour-long mix. Find the full interview now up on Mixmag.net and check the full mix over on our SoundCloud.
You're listening to Mixmag on rotation.
Can you fill me in? To the weekend, Harrison?
Wait, what was that singing? I don't know about your singing. I don't really know.
Well, okay, I had to sing because Craig David is playing tonight at the Fonda in Los Angeles, and, you know, I just had to do my part in honoring him.
LA's got Craig in the house. What else is going on in LA?
Well, on Friday, we have Joe Goddard in the lab, LA, and he's doing a dual Greco-Roman and domino takeover, playing out some tunes from his most recent debut solo album called Electric Lines, so that'll be really good. Then on Friday, Prototype is hosting Tiga and Danny Days for what's guaranteed to be a great night at Lot 613, while Jeremy Olander is on its sound. So I'm going to try and hit both of those. Wish me good luck. Saturday, we've got Jamie Jones, who's bringing his Paradise Party to the Park, to a brand new, never really before used venue in Los Angeles called the Levitt Pavilion, and he's going to be joined by Art Department and Scream. And later that night, Simeon Mobile Disco is over at Lights Down Low, while Marcus Wyatt is going back-to-back with Doc Martin for an all-vinyl set at Union.
Oh, that's where you gotta be. That's where you have to be.
It's a busy weekend in LA.
Vinyl set with 2 legends on the decks. That's definitely the place to be in LA, no doubt.
What about New York? Tell me what's going on.
Well, out in NYC, the clubs are buzzing at the moment. Cornell Kovacs and DJ Way hit Good Room tonight, which is one of our favorite spots in Greenpoint. Then on Friday, we have Sublimate bringing in the Hessel Audio crew with Ben UFO, Pangea, and Pearson Sound. That's going down at Sugar Hill Disco, which is definitely not to be missed. You gotta make it to Sublimate on Friday, no doubt. But elsewhere, DJ Harvey's at the decks all night at Output, and Omar S is at Good Room. Then on Saturday, Magda is at Members Only. Owner Ozer and Rasho head out to an undisclosed warehouse location. And Danny Days and Tiga take over at Output. If you're still alive on Sunday, it's best to head over to Mr. Sunday.
Wow.
Mr. Sunday is where you want to be on Sunday. No doubt about it. With Eamon Harkin and Justin Carter, 2 of the finest local selectors around.
That's right. If you're still alive, with Harrison the Zombie, he'll be there. All right, and this weekend over in London, it looks a little like this with the Black Madonna, who is back at XOYO with Ellen Alien and Shanti Celeste from Mega Girl Power Night, while Egg London hosts Matt Jam Lamont. And on Saturday, catch Scuba at Fabric, Edge and Dance at Ministry of Sound, and DJ Tennis at Phonox. Or on Sunday, you can check out John Talbot at the Pickle Factory.
Honestly, if you're in London, you should be going to the Black Madonna's residency at XOYO every week.
Yeah.
Every week. She's really
So
killing it out there. If you're not hitting at least 1 or 2 or 3 or all of those, there's a problem because you gotta make it out. She's bringing some really cool talent with her as well.
Girl power.
But, girl power, let's go. But over in Berlin, Berlin is just techno all the time. Berlin will be celebrating the young venue Brigitte's 2-year anniversary with a stacked lineup.
Brigitte.
Yeah, Brigitte. 2-year anniversary with a stacked lineup beginning on Friday with Terrence Parker, Nico Stojan, Robert Owens, Nico Schwind, Thomas Schumacher, Soul Button, Martin Lansky, and many more. Then on Saturday, Ben Klock is at Berghain once again, along with Len Faki, F. Demon, and more, while Macioplex, DJ Tennis, and Joe Kim holds down at Panorama Bar. So Berghain and Panorama Bar on Saturday is absolutely unreal. Techno always wins, marathon style, so be sure to mentally and physically prepare yourself for a long night.
Really, in the end, we just are preparing you for a marathon of partying, so just survive.
Be ready for it.
Be sure to tune in next week because we have some big names from Objectivity, including Dennis Ferrer and Nasser Baker. Join us for that exclusive chat. This has been Valerie in Los Angeles.
And I'm Harrison here in Brooklyn.
And this has been On Rotation.
Thanks for listening to Mixmag on Rotation. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll be back soon with more buzz from the world of dance music. Stay locked. This podcast was produced by Full English Post.
Ba-doop-boop-boo.